You've undoubtedly heard about emotional intelligence and its value to human beings in terms of their performance. Basically, the secret boils down to this. If you can use your thinking to affect your feeling, what you get is a better result than if you use all thinking or if you use all emotions. So, the big thing about emotional intelligence is if you marry what comes to you naturally, your thinking and your feeling, then obviously you're going to get a better result because the combination of those two things, hence the name emotional intelligence. What we do know about it though is it's the only known predictor of future success. So if you're interested in better performance, this is something you'd really want to know. So here is a 2-minute version of emotional intelligence. Now don't just take it from me. Go and read whatever you need to read. Do the research. Discover just how good emotional intelligence could be for yourself. But if you want the 2-minute version, it boils down to what we call the gap. Now the gap is really a period of time between when you get a trigger or an impulse and when you decide on a response. Now you'll notice a big word there is decide. What most of us do is we live reactively. You know, someone yells at me, I yell back at them. Someone's kind to me, I think I'll be kind to them. We tend to be reactionary in what we do. And so we talk about having a good day or a bad day depending on what other people say or do to us. And really, that's reactionary from the point of view of we're not deciding what the day's going to be like. It really depends on luck or some kind of set of circumstances, and that's got to do with whether someone chops us off in the traffic or not. When you think about it, it's a bit of a tragedy that the quality of our day depends on what's happening in the traffic on the way to work. So emotional intelligence says, how about we get our thinking together with our feelings? We, like I said, not all of one, not all of the other, and combine them. And the gap simply says when something happens, when there's a trigger takes place, and trust me, it will, a normal day is full of heaps of triggers. When something takes place, what we do is we take a deep breath, and we consider what would be the best response. And then we act on that. So it's trigger or impulse, gap, respond. Your grandmother would have called this count to 10. She would have said when something happens, all you have to do, count to 10 before you react. What we're saying is, okay, the extended version of that simply boils down to the trigger happens, go within. Now you might need to say, I just need to think about that and duck off to the loo. Do something that it gives you the space to think, what would be the most appropriate response here? What would serve me best? What would serve everybody else best? And simply put, that simply means when someone chops you off in the traffic, instead of busted, then maybe what we do is we say to ourselves, oh, they chopped me off in the traffic. Maybe they're in a hurry. I should think about that. Before I lean on the horn, before I start to tailgate them, maybe I should think about perhaps there's something going wrong for them. Maybe they're in a hurry. Maybe they're unaware. Maybe they're just clueless. But does it need to impact on my day? Does it need to ruin my day? Should I spend the next 10 minutes, the next half an hour being angry when really what happened was I got a little bit scared? So the gap simply says, put a gap between the triggering event or words and the response that you're going to have it, and use a gap to think about what serves you best. Don't worry about that person, you know, whether you lean on the horn or whether you tailgate them or not doesn't really affect them. You know, some people love having that happen. Maybe that fires them up. So, you know, you might be venting, but actually not changing anything. You might be encouraging them. We don't know what their reaction to it is, but we do know what happens for us. So the gap is about thinking about what is the best thing for me under these circumstances, considering that, using your intelligence, and then acting on that rather than just being reactionary. The Stoics, you know, and if you're wondering who the Stoics are, we're going back way back into Roman times. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, was actually a Stoic. It was a form of philosophy. They treasured the idea that you could remain cool, calm and collected while pandemonium was breaking loose around you. I think that's a pretty cool way to look at things, is how do you be a centre of influence in your life and the lives of the people who come in contact with you, because you've made that decision that you're going to work on being a centre of influence for good, regardless of what the trigger is. Because then what happens is we start to impact on the circumstances rather than the circumstances telling us what kind of a day we're having or not. That makes us truly powerful, and of course it's got nothing to do with exhibiting power. It's got to do with having power over ourselves. Give it a run. It'll take practice, but the more you practice, the better you'll get with it.